Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring the fascinating and honestly so often totally missed signals that bridge the gap between two people. Human connection is just incredibly complex, and so often we spend all our time desperately listening for the right words. We wait for these big, grand declarations, but in doing so, we can completely miss the quiet, subtle melody of affection that's playing right in front of us. So today, we're going to decode those silent signals, drawing from some deeply insightful source material on how affection is truly communicated when words are just left behind. So, think about this. Can two people actually grow close without saying a single word? I want to pose this fundamental question right up front because it hooks into a reality we've all probably experienced. We are so socially conditioned to listen for loud, explicit declarations. But think about it. How easily is the subtle language of affection missed when we only validate what we can literally hear out loud? The source material we're looking at today suggests that the absolutely most genuine connections often begin entirely in silence. And there's a fascinating disconnect here that trips up so many relationships. Often, guys are looking for logic and explicit words. They want the cold, hard facts and the verbal proof. Women, on the other hand, frequently communicate profound connection not through logical announcements, but through shared experiences and feelings. She won't necessarily just tell you what she's thinking. Instead, she's going to bring you into a situation where you can feel it for yourself. Let's start with phase one, the early stages, and the outer layers of connection. To really grasp this first phase, there's this brilliant thought from the source material that captures it perfectly. Love is not an announcement, but an experience. It is absolutely crucial to realize that a woman's affection doesn't start with a bold statement or a flashing neon sign. And let's be super clear here. She isn't testing you with malicious games. Actually, she is waiting. She's watching to see if you possess the emotional sensitivity to feel the silent connection she's offering. She's looking for someone who doesn't need everything spelled out in all caps. So what does this look like? Well, these first three signs emerge slowly and silently, almost like a blooming bud. First, you'll notice a subtle presence and warmth, just a sudden, comforting shift in her demeanor toward you. Second, comes vulnerability. And third, she starts remembering the small details. Things you mentioned in passing, maybe a favorite coffee order or some random childhood story. And then boom, she suddenly brings it up weeks later. These are quiet actions, for sure, but they carry massive emotional weight. Let's actually redefine that second sign, because the word vulnerability is so often misunderstood. It is not a weakness. It is the ultimate display of trust and honest softness. When she gives you a genuinely honest smile, or when she suddenly becomes quiet and peaceful around you rather than trying to fill the air with all that nervous chatter, those are profound displays of trust. She's letting her guard down, and that is definitely not just casual, everyday behavior. Think about that increased warmth and the fact that she's making mental space for your tiny habits and preferences. The source material uses a brilliant concept that translates perfectly to this metaphor, the half-open door. These signs act as an unspoken invitation into her world. She isn't forcing you inside, and she certainly isn't shutting you out. She is just leaving the door cracked open, leaving it entirely up to you to notice the invitation and step right on through. Which brings us to phase two, the inner world, where we start bridging the distance. Once you step through that door, the connection really deepens through signs 4, 5, and 6. The physical gap starts closing, she begins reacting to shifted attention, and she starts sharing hidden secrets. The whole relationship moves from mere observation to a much warmer, far more intimate dynamic. It's this really beautiful transition from her just observing you to her actively interacting with your energy. Let's detail that fourth sign because it is deeply psychological. Closing the gap brings safety, not just proximity. When she finds excuses to be physically near you, like maybe choosing the seat next to you in a crowded room, or lingering just a second longer by your side, it's not just about physical closeness. It's about her feeling a natural, safe ease by your side. She feels secure in your presence. And let me tell you, that feeling of safety is a massive indicator of growing affection. Now, this brings us to a massively common misconception in early relationships regarding the fifth sign. If her demeanor slightly shifts, or she gets a bit restless when your attention wanders away from her, the huge trap is to view this as toxic jealousy. It's actually the exact opposite. It is a hidden desire to be seen. It's a profound, unspoken wish for your focus. She just wants to know that you are truly present with her. Which brings us to the sixth sign, represented simply by the number 1. Out of everyone in her entire life, she chooses one person. She's opening the door to her private world, sharing deep thoughts, personal mysteries, and vulnerabilities that she reserves for just this one specific person. She isn't just making polite conversation anymore. She is granting you exclusive VIP access to her inner life, placing an immense amount of trust right in your hands.
All right, moving to phase 3, the ultimate sign, comfortable silence.
Just notice how this whole evolution builds over time. In the early days, it's just a feeling of subtle presence. Over weeks, it deepens into the sharing of hidden secrets. But eventually, after months of cultivating this bond, you reach a state where you completely transition from needing to speak to understand each other to simply understanding each other. Because when words step back, only experience remains. This is the very heart of the seventh sign. True connection happens when sitting together in utter, empty silence feels entirely comfortable and completely effortless. There's zero awkwardness. There's no desperate mental search for a topic to fill the void. The silence isn't empty at all. It's absolutely full of mutual understanding and peace. It's the ultimate proof that the emotional distance has been completely bridged.
And finally, phase 4, the paradigm shift. Stop analyzing and start feeling.
To truly benefit from all of this, we have to recognize the trap so many people fall into. The trap is overthinking every little interaction, desperately seeking tangible proof, and using rigid logic to try and decode human emotions. Treating human connection like a logical checklist will literally just destroy the magic. So the solution? Stop and observe, flow with the signals instead of questioning them, and allow yourself to simply feel the connection. As the source material wisely reminds us, love is not something to be caught, it is something to be revealed. You can't force it into a neat little box. It flows naturally when we stop rushing, when we stop demanding verbal confirmation, and when we simply pay attention to the unspoken beauty of the moment. Love must be felt, not understood. Think of this as advice from a wise, observant friend who's trying to guide you toward true emotional intelligence. If you spend all your energy trying to intellectually compute someone's affection, you'll entirely miss the actual experience of it. You just have to drop the need for a dictionary and let yourself experience the warmth they're offering. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to reflect on in your own life right now. Are you listening to the silence? Seriously, take a moment to look at your own relationships. Are you missing beautiful, subtle signals of affection simply because you're waiting around for a loud announcement? Remember, the deepest connections often make the absolute least amount of noise. Keep your eyes open, soften your logic, and start feeling the unspoken language all around you.